welcome back to my podcast. Today we are interviewing a very special guest as we are interviewing the Canadian famous artist Tony Harris. Let's go!
Zander, I'm great. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for coming on to my podcast. I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do first. So we're gonna tell you three questions, and we're gonna switch the slide, the picture, and you're gonna tell us, a little bit about that picture, the background of it, and then we're gonna do some rapid fire questions. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with all of it.
Okay. So first question is. How old were you when you recognized you had like a special gift with drawing and painting and all that stuff?
How old are you? What grade are you in right now?
So I'm 11 years old,
You're
and I'm in
grade 6? Okay,
Yes.
so probably, what was I, 8 maybe? Grade 3. Grade 3, I was like the go-to guy in class to draw stuff. And in grade 5, I sold something to my vice principal.
Really?
Yeah.
That's actually amazing. I mean, when I started drawing, I was about 9 years old when I started, drawing really good portraits and all that stuff. So,
Have you sold anything yet?
No.
So I'm better than you.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean.
I get it. Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
So
Totally kidding.
people know that you're a great artist, but some people didn't know that you played goalie for the Kingston Canadians, and you were the All-Canadian for a quarterback in Bishops. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, that's where I met your dad and your Uncle Wally,
Yeah.
which I think everyone should have an Uncle Wally. So I played hockey in high school and junior, and I was going to go to Bishop's University when I was 18 to play hockey and football, but then they dropped their hockey programs, so I decided to go just play hockey, and that's how I ended up actually at McMaster University. It's a long story. I got kicked out of a couple of universities before I ended up at Bishop's, but in between all that, I played a bit for the Kingston Canadians, now the Frontenacs, and then I was like 20, so I said, you know what, I'm going to go and play football again, and went to Bishop's, and ended up playing there for 4 years, and that's where I met your dad and Uncle Wally.
That's awesome. So you said that you started drawing when you were grade 3?
Well, I think I started drawing before that, but that's when I started to figure out that I really liked it and was doing it all the time. Now, I think about you guys, how old you are now, and all the things that are available to you, but I grew up in the country, and, a black and white TV that got like 2 stations, so there wasn't a whole lot to do. There was no internet, there was no video games, so drawing was my sort of thing when I wasn't outside playing sports. So and I was really crappy in math, so I wasn't very good at those things. So drawing was sort of my outlet to be in school, to be good at something.
And when did you start drawing sports? Because that's for our next question. When did you start drawing?
So I started drawing sports right away. That was the thing because I liked doing sports, and like I say, back then we'd come home from school, we'd either play football or ball hockey, and then when the winter came, we'd be skating outdoors on the rinks, and our parents would yell at us to come in, and we'd get in at dinner time, and we'd turn the lights on and go out and do it again. And so any downtime I had, it was just drawing athletes, and it was mostly football and hockey.
So, drawing sports, did that prepare you for actually playing sports? So you said football and hockey. What was your first sport that you ever played?
Well, I think if I take your question and switch it around a bit, I would say that playing sports and being, really into it and watching as much as I could on TV and reading about it, I think that helped me as an artist, because I think that having played football and played hockey at a fairly high level, it made me understand I'm going to throw out a word here, but the nuances of those sports. So the things that made hockey cool or the things that made football cool. And I started to really like uniforms and color and how helmets looked and how sun would hit a football helmet and make like a really cool shine. So those are the things that I wanted to really nail when I was doing drawings or paintings when I was a kid. And I think that that really helped me, later as to be an artist that was. I think if you're an athlete and you get a portrait done of you, if the guy doing the portrait understands, that if you're like I remember doing Duncan Keith's portrait for his 1000th game, and he's got tape that goes all the way around his stick. So I knew that had to be important to him because he would have taken the time to wrap that tape around every stick himself, right? That wasn't coming in from the factory like that. Like he would do that. So I knew that those sort of things are important.
So let's talk about this painting right here.
The big rig. The Chris Phillips
Yes.
nickname's a big rig. Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that. So let's talk about it. What was the backstory about it?
Well, so Chris's number, he was retired. He had a great career with the Senators.
I went to his retired.
That game?
Yeah, I went to with my friend.
So you saw this painting given to him?
Yes.
Or you
Yes,
were
I
getting
did.
a hot dog and you missed it?
No, I saw it.
Okay, good. So, so this painting, so Chris had retired. They retired his sweater, the number 4, and then they commissioned me to do a painting. And I wanted to do something that, this is from probably, maybe about 2 or 3, 4 years before he retired. So he was sort of really in his, had really sort of matured as a player and as a person. And I just wanted to capture sort of his attitude and his confidence. And then one of the really cool things is the background is an actual sky because Chris was born in Fort McMurray. This is second level stuff, so pay attention. So the sky in the background, you can see the little stars, the little dots. So that is the constellation. You know what a constellation is?
No.
That's what the stars are. That's the formation of the stars in the sky. So every night the stars will be in a different spot as the Earth turns. And so this constellation is, I think it was February 19th, was his retirement night. So that's what the sky would look like in Fort McMurray that night that his number was retired. So it was just sort of a shout out to his beginnings.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah. And inside, in there, there's some different things in there. The initials of his family are hidden in there somewhere and that kind of stuff. So.
That's really cool.
Well, thanks.
So you went to Lakefield College. What sport did you play when you were there? And, or did you know that you were going to be an artist when you were playing those sports? So were you kind of like sports, get home, video painting, or were you focusing on one thing when you were at Lakefield?
Well, you've done your research, so it's good that Lakefield is a really important time for me. My dad was a teacher there, and we grew up on the campus of the school, and it was a great place. But one of the cool things about Lakefield, you had to do a sport every single term. So there was a fall term, a winter term, and a spring term. But the school made you do sports. So in the fall, I played football, and in the winter, I played hockey, and in the spring, I played tennis and golf. So those are the things that I had to do. And I had an art teacher, his name was Richard Heyman, who became a great friend and mentor. And he's really been the only true teacher that I've had art-wise my entire life. And he was also an athlete. He was a great soccer player and a great golfer. And he would let me, when I was doing the art, the great thing was it wasn't like, okay, you all have to do a tree. You all have to paint this or draw this. He would allow me to pick my subjects, and he knew that I was passionate about sports. So he was like, well, let's do some things with sports. So my grade 13 art project, was a painting of Lynn Swan, and who played for the Steelers, Hall of Famer. So that was like my first real sports portrait.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, I had a really good art mark.
Yeah.
My math mark was really bad.
Really?
Yeah. Barely just over 50, but my art mark was well into the 90s, so that sort of got me through into university.
Nice. What made you choose to go to Bishop's? Was it the friends, the sports, the art clubs, or was it just Bishop's in general?
Well, if I go back to that, initially I went to McMaster University, but I got kicked out. That's a whole other podcast, so we won't get into that. And then I was young enough that I could play hockey, junior hockey still. So I made the Kingston Canadians that summer. My dad actually said, well, you got kicked out of university, so we're not going to pay for any more school, so you're on your own. And then I wrote some letters, made the Kingston Canadians, and they got me into Queens. So I went to Queens while I was there, and then when I was let go from the Kingston Canadians, finished my year, and then I was like, what the heck am I going to do? So I phoned Bruce Coulter from Bishops, and I knew that originally I was going to try to go there and play both hockey and football. And then he said, yeah, come and play football. So I was like, perfect. And that's how I ended up there.
That's awesome. That's just amazing how you just ask, because it's really not that hard to accomplish something in life that you really want. It may be really tough for other people, but for some people, you just need to ask. And like me, I'm doing my podcast. I really love what I'm doing in my life, and you just need to ask. So.
Well, you know what? That's a really good point. And I had a friend that always said, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. So the worst they could say is no, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good point.
Were you ever worried about an injury with your hands? Because say you had an injury with your hands.
Are you trying to jinx me? This isn't even wood. What are we gonna? Okay, go ahead. Ask your question.
I don't mean to jinx you, but let's just say you had an injury.
Are you worried about falling down the stairs? Okay.
So let's just say that you had an injury and you hurt your hands. Were you worried about that?
No. No, well, I didn't know when I was playing football. I didn't know that I would be an artist. I knew that I had artistic talent, and I knew that I'd probably always paint or do something, but I didn't know that I would be doing it as a living. And in fact, I started out as a teacher. So
really?
I was a teacher, and then after about 3 years, I realized that I didn't want to be a teacher. I really wanted to be an artist. So I didn't really, and even today, I don't, I avoid using chainsaws, chop saws, anything with blades that turn, I try to avoid because I don't want my hands to get there. I don't like to do a lot of hammering. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I get other people to chop all my food up for me, so I don't hurt my hands.
Is there an artist that inspired you, or did you focus on their types of painting, or does every artist have their own type of style?
Yeah, I think every artist has their own little style. Every artist could be, there are a bunch of artists that are in a certain genre. There are some artists that like doing abstract, some like doing, realism. I'm certainly based in realism, but I appreciate things that abstract artists do. And every now and then I can incorporate a little bit of both. In terms of favorite artists, Andrew Wyeth was a favorite of mine. You can Google him. There was a great Canadian sports artist named Ken Danby, who I think had an impact on a lot of Canadian kids as artists for sure. He was super hyper realistic and really good. So those are two that I really like. I like Norman Rockwell. So, and even today, like I love going on Instagram and just, if you type in a certain type of art and then all these different people come up and you get to see what people around the world are doing, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and let's talk about this painting right here.
That's Ken Dryden.
Yep.
I think he was probably. Oh, you do?
Yeah, it was my dad's favorite player.
Yeah, I think he was. It's funny because I was a Tony Esposito fan who played for the Blackhawks at the same time Ken Dryden did. But I always appreciated Ken Dryden, but I had this sort of love-hate relationship with him because the Canadians would always beat the Blackhawks, so that was an issue for me. But I think with this painting, it was one of those. I was doing a lot of paintings for other people, so I'd gone through maybe like a 4 or 5 year stretch where I'd only been painting commissions and I hadn't painted anything that I wanted to paint. And then that was the first thing that I said, you know what, I'm going to take this iconic pose of drawing leaning on a stick, which I think, if you're between the ages of 45 and 65, that resonates with you as a Canadian hockey fan. And to me, it was an important thing for me to do because it allowed me to really just paint something for myself.
Hmm. So you said that your first painting or drawing that you sold was to your principal, right? What was that of again?
A tree.
A tree.
Yeah, it was a charcoal and chalk drawing of a tree. You know what? I'm sure that he took it home and threw it out, and gave a kid $5 and made him feel good. But I don't know. It'd be
Now
interesting to
look
see
at
it
you.
again.
If you
Look at
threw
me.
it,
I
if you
know.
threw it out,
It'd be worth $10 now.
yeah, it's a little tree. Did you ever know that it would have been a career if you started to draw when you were a kid? So, like you said, you were drawing in grade 3, I'm pretty sure. When you were drawing, were you like, man, like, imagine if I did this as a career?
I think the honest answer is probably, no, because there wasn't, growing up in a small town and at a school, there wasn't a lot of examples of artists that were making a living. There weren't a lot of galleries, local galleries, where you could go and see people selling art and making a living. My art teacher, again, Mr. Heyman, he did sell works, but he was also a teacher, so it was like maybe, I could be an art teacher. But then as I got older and you start to realize that, there are people out there that can make a living at it, it was probably later on, like maybe in my teens, that I started to figure out that would be a pretty cool job.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, when I grew up, I would want to be an actress, sorry, an actor,
Hey,
a musician,
it's all free now, man. You can do whatever you want.
an artist.
Do you want to be an artist?
Yeah.
Did you bring any of your work in?
No.
Well, that was bad planning by your dad.
I
Sorry,
drew a
your
really
manager.
good drawing. Yes, last night I'm pretty sure.
Well, flip it to me. Send me an image of it.
Okay. So now we didn't have it now that we can show our.
Maybe you can stick it in afterwards, post production.
Oh yeah.
That's second level. I have 7 years of college. Not a doctor.
So you have lots of paintings of golf courses and lots of athletes. What are your favorite paintings of those two?
Well, it's a painting of my daughter's probably my favorite thing I've done in a while. My daughter Andy. Um, and I mean, it's sort of cheesy to say, but I usually say my favorite painting is the last one I did. Um, that's a painting of Augusta that I did for a client in Utah, and he's got like a really cool indoor like golf range in his house, and he has that up in his wall. Yeah, it's really neat.
Really, in his house?
In his house, yeah.
Wow, like in the basement?
Yeah, yeah. He's got a
Wow.
golf simulator and a bar, and so he wanted something big that he could put up in there. So that was that commission.
I was gonna say let's talk about this painting, but I think you gave us enough information from that. So, the next question: how long does it take for you to paint a golf hole like Augusta?
Well, that's a big painting. That one's 54 inches wide, so I think that one probably took, I'm going to say like 25 days, 30 days. And then some of the commissions, like I did. You want to hear a story?
Yeah, sure.
So I did a painting of. It was for the Chicago Blackhawks. This is a small brag at the same time. So they had phoned me and said, we'd like you to do a painting for us to give to President Obama. And the Blackhawks had won their third Stanley Cup. So they were going to the White House when Obama was there, and they'd already won 2 Stanley Cups with Obama as president. And so they'd given him sweaters, they'd given him stuff. They wanted to give him something different. So they said, can you do a painting? And I said, I would love to. When do you need it? And they said, we need it Thursday. And it was Thursday. And I'm going, well, Thursday's like next Thursday? And they're like, yeah, we need it next Thursday, and you need to ship it to Washington. So they wanted me to do a painting, which essentially I had to do in 4 days, frame it, and ship it to Washington to get it there. So I said, I don't know if I could do that. And the guy, his name is Brian Howe with the Blackhawks, and he said, well, it's going to be given to President Obama, so you don't have to do it. We could get someone else to do it. And then I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I put together a sketch. I'm sorry that I didn't send you this picture because I didn't know I'd tell the story, but I put together a sketch, sent it to them, and they approved it. And then I basically stayed up like 20 hours a day and got 4 hours sleep and rattled through it. And it turned out really cool.
Yeah.
And they gave it to him in the White House, right in the Oval Office. And yeah, so that's pretty cool.
You should send us a picture of it.
Post-production?
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. Ready?
Yeah.
So you were chosen to do NHL chose you to paint the top 100 players. What did that, how did you feel when you saw that message and you were like, oh my gosh, like they chose me? You know, how was it?
Well, you know what? I was happy, and at the same time, it was like, oh my God, what am I getting into? Because I knew that it would be a really long job that I would have to put off other work. But you know, it's at the time it was my wife and I called it the life ruiner because it was 15-hour days for 11 months straight. Like there was no break. As soon as you finished a painting, you know, you had to move on to the next because it was 100 portraits. So I did 100 portraits in 11 months, and I remember finishing number 68 because it was Yager. So my 68th painting was Yager, who wears number 68. I remember finishing it and going like, wow, okay, I got 68 done, and then realizing, holy crap, I got 32 more to do, and it just seemed like it was never ending. Usually I like to finish a painting and then maybe take a day and do no painting, maybe do a little bit of office work, maybe go play golf, do something, and then get back to it. So this was like finish a painting and go.
Yeah, this was just you have to do it.
Have to do it. But it was when it was done. I was very proud of it, and all 100 portraits are in the office, the NHL office in Toronto, in the lobby when you walk in. It looks really cool. So it's nice to be a part of that forever and ever.
So, for fans watching, what would you say to them? How could they see those paintings? Do they have to go?
Well, they have to go on. They can go to my website, thfineart.ca, and see them. But unless they're going for a meeting in the NHL office, they're not going to see them. So the neat thing, I mean, the good and the bad was Gary Bettman said, I want something for the office to celebrate the 100 years anniversary. I want something that's sort of just for the NHL because I don't want it wasn't like there were prints available for it to to everybody. It was just, this is for us, and that was kind of cool. I liked it. And the neat thing about it was they were able to pick an artist. It didn't have to go through like, okay, let's have a contest, see who can come up with the best. It was like, we like what Tony does. We're going to pick him and let's just do it.
Yeah. What advice would you give a talented kid who wants to become an artist?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Seriously, I'm going to business.
Why?
I'm kidding. If you want to do it, it's like, especially you are 11. So if you've got an idea at 11, what you want to do, then just do it. I mean, and I think the one thing about being an artist is believe in what you're doing, find out something you're passionate about. Like I'm really lucky because, painting golf courses and painting hockey players and football players, those interest me. So I wake up in the morning and can't wait to, go and do it. There are times where I'm painting something that I'm maybe not that jazzed about, but I know that it allows me to do the other things.
It's like when you start it, you need to finish it. Even if you don't like it or you love it, you just really need to finish it. So let's talk about.
No, you're good.
So let's talk about this picture right here, Tuukka Rask.
Tuukka Rask. So Tuukka Rask he's played more games more wins than any other Bruin goalie. And so the Bruins wanted to give him a gift, and I do a fair amount of work with Boston Bruins, so they said, can you come up with something that we can give him at center ice? And this is the painting, or a portion of the painting. It's actually a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, so that's Tuukka, and I think with goalies, I think the mask becomes their personality as much as anything. So I really wanted to focus on the mask, and he's one of the goalies that's, I think he gets a new mask every year, but the design on it changes ever so slightly. It's pretty much been the same his entire career.
Yeah. So this is a kind of like a follow-up question. It's how do you do the puck stains, puck marks, pads and all that stuff?
You know what? It looks cool, right?
Yeah.
It's probably the easiest thing to do.
Really?
It's just taking when the painting's a little bit drier, and then you just take a brush and you just get a little bit of black paint on it, and then you just stick it on. It's like smudging, and then you can take your finger and you can smudge it a bit. Yeah, I know. The magic has been destroyed.
So we have some rapid fire questions. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Are they personal questions? Are you getting personal? Are they questions about relationships?
It's kind of the questions that we've been asking.
It's more art related?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
are they one word answers or no? Or I can do whatever. Okay, you go. You ask.
Okay,
I'll do the best I can.
So if there's an
Yes.
athlete.
No, I'm kidding. Okay. Go ahead.
If there's an athlete from a sport you haven't painted, you've never painted yet, who would it be?
That's a good question. Jordan. Michael Jordan.
Yeah, honestly, yes.
He's pretty
Really
cool.
good athlete. Which is the most which is more satisfying, finishing a masterpiece or throwing a touchdown?
They're both
Like a
pretty good.
50-yard
They're both pretty
touchdown,
good, but I've never got paid for throwing a touchdown. I do get paid for finishing. I'm gonna say finishing painting.
Finishing a piece. Okay. Do you play music to inspire you when you're painting, and if so, what kind of music do you play?
Sometimes classic rock, but often I will have sports on TV. And then sports are great to paint with because you don't have to watch it all the time. You can kind of listen to it, and then if there's a highlight, if they score a goal, you can turn and watch it.
What painting are you most proud
The Roger Nielsen portrait done for Roger's House, which they sold to raise a lot of money for Roger's House at the beginning. And Roger was a friend of mine. I worked for him for 7 or 8 years, so that was good.
Have you ever gotten frustrated and ripped your piece of paper and made a hole in their canvas?
No.
Really?
Really?
You seem like the guy. Okay.
Whoa. I seem like the kind of guy that would get angry and wreck stuff?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Who is your favorite artist? What is your favorite painting of that artist? Sorry, from that artist.
Boy, I've got a lot. I like, I like Vermeer. I like I said, Ken Danby I would say Ken Danby at the crease, which is a goalie, is probably the painting that most impacted me as an artist.
Who is the person that motivated you to become an artist? Not when you were already an artist and for you to keep on going, but
as a kid?
Yeah.
It would be my teacher, Richard Haynes.
Do you ever get mad when you're getting Pictionary, or are you just too good?
Okay, so full disclosure, I suck at Pictionary. Because Pictionary, I would always be like drawing, and in the beginning, you're taking too long, and then the timer would run out, and I'm like, oh my god. And then someone else would get up there and do like a squiggle, and they'd go, skateboarding. And I go, how the hell is that skateboarding? So, yeah, you would think I'm a good Pictionary player, and I'm not a very good Pictionary player.
Okay, so we've come to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for joining, and yeah.
Well, Zander, thank you for having me. then continued success, and make sure that we get to see some of your art. Do we fist bump through the glass? Nice. All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.
Yeah.